A very good afternoon, and thanks for clicking on to the Friday edition of Vogan's European Outlook. It is the final video of the week, of course, and we have got lots of things to cover. Before we get into the video, please like, share, and indeed subscribe if you haven't already done so. I'm just over 100 away from hitting 5,000 subscribers. Can I do it by the end of next month? I certainly appreciate your support if you haven't already done so. You're interested in weather, interested in the big picture, interested in things that you're not seeing elsewhere. Be sure to subscribe to markvoganweather.com here on YouTube. Of course, you can also follow me on Facebook and Twitter. And over the next 24 hours, I will have the August forecast released on markvoganweather.com as well. I will have a link in the description below for that. We will, of course, in the upcoming global weather report on Sunday, look at some climatic stuff, a little bit of controversy with regards to some of the temperatures that we've seen over the past couple of weeks in Europe. Just picking out a couple of things that I think is worth discussing. Not necessarily saying that what I say is correct, but I'm just trying to show you the unbiased, blocking out the noise that we're getting from all around, social media, mainstream media. We're just getting absolutely bombarded when it comes to climate change. Every drop of rain, every day with sunshine is attributed to climate change. And I just want to shed a little bit of light in terms of pure perspective. So, so stay tuned for that this upcoming Sunday, of course. Interesting stuff. Looking at the CET, or the Central England temperature for the year so far, this month is on track to be the first below average month for the CET, and that is rather interesting. So, of course, January had an anomaly of 1.4. February was very warm at 2.7 above. March was 1.4. April was close to average compared to what we've seen at 0.8. May 1.4. June 2.9. And July, according to and provisional to the 27th, which is quite interesting. This is actually slightly updated. It's now showing exactly average for the mean England, central England temperature. So quite interesting stuff actually when you look at that. And we also look at the year so far. Now, of course, June was the warmest since 1976. I know there's a little bit of controversy with regards to that, but we have had warmer CETs back in the 1800s, which is rather interesting, of course, and of course opens up a lot of questions with regards to that. But you can see here, so the blue line representing the high, and I believe the faint blue, the tealy color, is the lows with regards to if I'm right in saying that, and the black line in the middle here is the average over the period between 1961 and 1990. Don't know why it doesn't have a more updated version. In fact, the most recent 30 years of the CET is below average. That's why that's showing 0.0 Celsius or average. So I just thought I would actually point that out. I've only noticed that as I'm doing the video, that the average is the 61 to 1990, which I don't know why that's showing. But you can see here the incredible warmth during the month of June in particular. You can see here the spike in terms of the mean temperatures and also the maximum temperatures as well, well above average. But the general consensus, like we've seen back last year, 2022, we have got a considerable warm bias in our temperatures. But July is kind of going against the grain. We've seen that back in December, of course, where it was the coldest December since 2010 for the British Isles. But the previous 11 months was actually above average. And a lot of this can be contributed to the warm AMO, or the Atlantic Multi-Decadal Oscillation, which has been very, very warm, especially in the last 24 months or so. And that has definitely been having a warming over not just the UK and Ireland, but across Europe in general. So I thought I would show you that in today's video to start with. But I want to also show you, this is the GFS ensemble. So this is all the different models of the GFS suite. And you can see here that we are above average at the moment. In fact, today was the first day above 20 Celsius in about 9 or 10 days. I've only had 6 days this month here at the house. So this is my personal weather station I'm talking about at Everton, about 16 miles north of Inverness. That today marks only the 6th day of 20 Celsius or above. Back last month, there was 15 such days of 20 Celsius or above. Interesting enough, the maximum temperature for July and June is only 0.1 of a degree separating. So we had 27.5 Celsius in June for a maximum, 27.6 Celsius. So ironically, it was actually warmer in July, the maximum temperature here, versus what we've seen in June. But the difference is that we had only 6 days above 20 this month versus 15 such days last month. So a very notable difference. And also the average temperature for the month is running over a degree, 1 full degree below what June produced. So I'm a big stats man, and I just thought I would share that with you, whether it's of interest or not. I thought it would be interesting to show you that the differences between June and July, certainly here at my house in Everton, Marflogan Weather HQ, of course. So the GFS ensemble overall, the red line marks the average at 850 millibars, or approximately 5,000 feet above the surface. So this is for Inverness, and you can see here that we go below average over the weekend, and it essentially stays below average, that red line. The majority of the members, yes, we've got a couple of outliers, but the general consensus, the white line being the average members, so the average run of the models, is staying firmly at about between 2 and 3 Celsius at 850, which is pretty amazing actually for the first, 12 days of August, staying firmly below average, and particularly that period between the 3rd and the 5th of August. The majority of the members have a very, very cool look over Inverness at 850 millibars. That's considerably below average for Inverness. Looking at London, very similar idea, but it does look as if there's a little bit of an uptick towards the 7th, 8th, 9th of August. But you notice here we go from above average at the moment at nearly plus 12 Celsius, below average, then we see a little bit of a surge back towards average, and then another decline in the 850 temperature anomalies here. And that suggests to me that it's there's a very strong consensus in the models. This is at the CFSV2 weeklies, by the way, and this is the upcoming 7-day period here. Let's have a look at the temperature anomaly chart here, and you can see the overall idea. So firmly below average, according to the CFSV2, for week 1, which is the 27th of July through the 3rd of August. Week 2, what's it showing? Again, firmly below average, the 3rd through the 10th of August. Week 3, it's still below average. So this is taking us out of the period the 10th through the 17th of August. And yeah, could we see for the first time in a long time, I don't know what year, July and August being below average for the UK? Probably 2012 is the last time we've seen that, maybe 2011. But we haven't seen this in quite some time. And you'll see if you read up on the August outlook that's going to be released on the channel in hopefully the next 24 hours, I do make mention about why I thought there would be a flip around between June and July, and possibly June being the warmest, driest month, July and August being a very disappointing, cooler, wet overall period. The development of the El Nino, similar solar cycle to back in 2012, for example, and other aspects such as the Mann-Julian oscillation, all these things were taken into account. A lot of hard work, a lot of study put into it, and it looks as if that is materializing this cool, wet theme. Looks as if we're going to have one of the wettest Julys on record, one of the dullest Julys on record for the British Isles here. So a very, very interesting flip around between the June and the July period. And it looks as if, certainly according to the models, this theme continues through at least into the central portion of August here. Eventually, it looks as if, and this is not just the CFSV2 by the way, a lot of the models are indicating that we do see a little bit of an uptick in terms of drier, settled, more settled, and warmer conditions through week 3 of August here. So we'll watch this space as we'll go forward, of course. Looking at precipitation, week 1, you can see here, firmly wetter than average. Week 2, wetter than average. Week 3, wetter than average to the north, drier than average to the south here, which is quite interesting. So yeah, very interesting stuff indeed. If you look at the NAO, it has been a negative NAO summer overall. We had the majority of the first half of June was below the average, so a negative NAO. We had a little bit of an uptick. Then we've had a significant drop off in the NAO, the negative NAO with that during the month of July, and of course that has led to a trapped trough across the top of Europe. Of course, that has been trapping heat across the Mediterranean basin, for example, hence why we've seen such incredible temperatures indeed. So, yeah, very interesting stuff indeed, folks, when you really look at it all. And interesting weekend coming up. This is a look at the peak wind gust of the GFS model. And this gives you a rough idea where the storm track is, so where the jet stream is going for the next, several days through the weekend and into next week. Where the windiest conditions are, that tends to be where the jet stream is up at 30 or 40,000 feet above our heads. So let's play through this loop and you can see what takes place. You notice here that we do have this very, very deep area of low pressure. I believe 976 millibars, according to Dan Harrison, the Met Office. Beautiful satellite presentation. I'll try and show you if I get the chance before the end of the video, because I always run out of time. There's just so many things to cover, of course. But that area of low pressure here, you can see there's a slack wind regime over the British Isles at the moment here. As we press through the course of Friday night into Saturday, the strongest of the winds are going to be across Ireland, Northern Ireland, England, Wales, Southern Scotland. As you can see, nothing particularly strong. But you notice here there's a secondary area of low pressure out over the Atlantic behind this system here that is actually going to bring some stronger winds across the southern flank of Ireland, south of Wales, and through a slice of southern England during the second half of the weekend and in the early next week. So it looks as if we ramp up the winds primarily across southern Ireland and southern UK, a lack of wind near the centre of those low pressure systems over Scotland. So of course underneath the centre of low pressure you don't tend to get much in the way of wind. Then we've got another swathe of wind coming in during the middle portion of the week. Notice that track is further south. So what we've got is we've got heights building over the North Atlantic during next week, and then of course with systems moving from west to east, low pressure to the east, high pressure to the west. Where's our wind coming in from? A north to northwesterly direction. And of course when you look at the 850s, you can see that dip, that sharp dip in the temperature 850 because of that low portion to the east, and of course that sends down a northerly airflow here. So quite interesting how you can see the different models and connect and join up the dots when it comes to the weather situation here. And we'll continue to play through the loop. You can see another swathe of strong winds associated with a rather deep area of low pressure towards next weekend here. So we just continue with this bombardment of low pressure. You can see the same idea with the precipitation chart of the GFS. So this is total accumulated precipitation. The swathe of heaviest rain, western Scotland, but particularly across southern Ireland and England and Wales. That's where the majority and the lion's share of the rain will be through the course of the weekend and into next week here. But there's plenty of precipitation to come as we go through the weekend and through next week. We're going to continue to see that rain total for July mounting up. So it'll be interesting to see where this sets up, by the way, when it comes to total rainfall. Plenty of rainfall across the heart of Europe as well, if you notice. So that's also quite interesting to see. So low pressure is going to dominate through the early and possibly the middle portion of August, going with the overall ideas I've had since May of a cooler, wetter July and indeed August, followed, of course, by that warm and dry June. So I think I've spoken long enough. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. I'll be back again Sunday with the global weather and climate report. Bye for now.